Hi, it was lovely to meet so many of you today at the parent-teacher meetings. Thanks for coming to see me and sharing your experience of how your children are getting on with the iPads at home. One of the things that came up was about parental control, so I just wanted to make a quick video to show how you can easily, the biggest request really was locking down YouTube. You don't want unfettered access to YouTube, which is a very understandable position. And I'm going to show you how you can do that. It's actually locking down access to all websites. And then you need to add them in individually. You'll see how it works now. So if you go into the settings here, I'll just highlight that so you can see what it looks like. So into the settings, there is this called screen time here. I've actually got it switched on at the moment, so I'm going to turn mine off so that I can set it up again and you can see what it looks like. So I'll turn off screen time now so you can see the process of turning it back on again. So what it'll look like for you, or what it should look like for you, I hope, is that when you go into the screen time here on this tab on the side, you can tap turn on screen time. It'll give you this prompt. So tap again, turn on screen time. You're going to be setting it up for your child. So you say, this is my child's iPad. And this is where you can start to configure it the way you want to. So you can change the age of the content that you would like your child to have access to. So that's filtering things like in the App Store, as an example, TV shows and movies that you get through Apple, okay? So if I scroll down, you can see there are other things here as well, limiting adult websites as an example. You may wish to say just allowed websites. That's when you really lock down what your child's able to access, what they basically they can't access anything through Safari unless you let them to do that. Moving on through some of these other things into the next one. So if I go on turn on restrictions, you can set some downtime. So if you want a certain time that they are unable to access the iPad at all, you can change the times that they're allowed to be able to go onto it and access it at all there. So you can turn that on as well. And you can set limits for different apps too. I'm not going to spend too much time on there are so many different settings you can play with here, but the main thing, the thing that cropped up many times was about YouTube and wanting to lock down YouTube. So I'm going to really just show that now. So I'm going to set that up later. You can set up a passcode. So you should make this something that you know and your child doesn't know. For the purposes of what I'm doing here, I'm just going to put in these numbers here. And then it'll ask you to have a recovery ID. So you need to have an Apple ID, and it should be your own one, not your child's one. If you don't have one, you can easily create one. If you go to Apple ID, put that into the internet, you can create an Apple ID for free. And that's the place where if for whatever reason you forget that code that we've just put in now, then you can recover it. So I'm going to put mine in now. Okay, so I've entered my password. And now screen time is going to come on. And what I want to show you is what happens now when the child tries to access the internet. So if I come out of this now and I go into Safari, you can see what's happened here is if I try to go onto any of these different pages, say I was on my coding page, before I had this map of India just from Wikipedia, and I can't get to anything. So what you would do then as an adult is allow the websites that you wish your child to have access to. So this is the way of locking down everything, and when they come to you and you can see that this is something that you're quite happy with them accessing, for example Wikipedia, which they will use for research, then you can say allow website, and away from them so they don't see you entering the code, you can enter the code, and now they can have access to this website. It might just crash for a second for me here. Yes, it did. And now when I go back in, here we go. I can now see this Wikipedia page. Same goes for just to show that again. So if it was on the coding website that grade 5 have been doing, again, you just tap allow website 1, 2, 3, 4 was my number, which is nice and easy to guess. Obviously, you would need to use one that is difficult to guess. And again, now it comes out, and when I come back in again, I can now access that one. So it might be a bit laborious at the beginning with if your child accesses many different other websites, if they're coming to you to ask to access. But for those of you who do want to have that control, then this is how you do it. It locks down everything, so they can't access anything from the website, and you have to allow them one by one so that they can access it. So if you have that fear, then you can use it like this. The alternative, if I come back into the screen time, here where we've got the content and privacy restrictions, on the content restrictions here, you need to put your passcode in again. And in web content, if you want to give them a bit more freedom and you just want to limit the adult websites, then you can choose this. And here is the kind of blacklist and whitelist where you can add websites yourself. Also, in addition to what Apple consider to be adult content, you may have some websites that you wish your child always to be able to access, so you can add those websites here. And again, if there are some that you really don't want them to have access to, for example, YouTube, you can add it here. So that's another way where you can limit the content and control what your child has access to. Now, there will be times, for example, when the iPad is coming to school, we have our own restrictions in place here. We can see what the children are searching for. We don't need to have these restrictions that you set at home. In fact, it can hinder things if the teacher's asking children to get to a particular website and they can't access that website. So what you need to do when the iPads come out, or when they're finished with the iPad, when it's done, you need to go into the content and privacy restrictions down there and just toggle it off. It'll ask you for the passcode, obviously, so that the child can't do this themselves. So you put your passcode in, and now all of that stuff that you've set up remains there, ready to be switched back on again when you need it. But when the iPad's in school, we have our own restrictions, and these ones can kind of conflict and stop things from working properly. So toggle that off, just make sure that's done. It might be worthwhile, if you do set these kind of things up, to share that code just in case it's forgotten to be done one day with the class teacher, so that they can easily toggle that on and off themselves. So for now, I hope that answers a few of your questions and queries. Of course, this may throw up some other ones as well, so never be afraid to let me know. Contact me via my email. If there are, again, more questions that lots of people have, I'm very happy to make more of these little videos that can just show how to change settings, that kind of thing. Okay, thanks a lot.